Bangor's Board of Ethics held a public hearing earlier tonight to discuss a few different matters, including an ethics investigation into members of the City Council. 2 board members were absent from the meeting, but the remaining members found that the text messages exchanged between multiple city councilors in a group chat discussing how to punish Joe Leonard, another council member, did not violate any code of conduct. The vote was unanimous among the 4 present board members. A couple other important topics on the agenda were decided to be pushed back to the next scheduled meeting on December 17th. These topics included discussion of Councilor Wayne Maller's Historic Preservation Committee and the suggestion of councilors being able to pick up paperwork for others.